All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Lexington's Planning Commission meeting. This is our normal monthly meeting and is being held at 8 a.m. August 23rd, 2017. This meeting is being broadcast live and will air several times throughout the week on the town's informational channel. I'm Keith Frost, your Planning Commission Chair, and I will ask the other members to please introduce themselves.
Good morning, I'm Frank Berry.
Good morning, Roscoe Kaufman.
Good morning, I'm Brian Amick.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Gibson.
Good morning, I'm Jamie Fight.
Morning, I'm John Bartlett.
Good morning, I'm Brooke Poole, Lexington Town Administrator.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Manus, Lexington Town Council.
Good morning, I'm Brad Cunningham, Town Attorney.
Good morning, I'm Todd Carnes, Lexington Town Council.
Good morning, I'm Ron Williams, Lexington Town Council.
Good morning, Dan Walker, Director of Parks and Sanitation.
Good morning, Charlie Collins, Building Official.
Good morning, John Hanson, Planning Director.
Thank you. At this time, I will ask Commissioner Berry if he will lead us in invocation.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for this time together when we come together to plan the town. Be with us as we make the decisions to grow. Be with those who protect our country and serve us every day, and let us do what we're able to do freely. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was just reminded we missed Randy Edwards in our introduction, but I'm sure we'll hear from him later. So. All right, with that being said, we will call the meeting to order. Everyone's received their packet. We have the minutes from our June 21st, 2017 meeting included. Are there any corrections?
Motion approved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. All right, first item of new business is...
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes.
I will be recusing myself from items number 3 and 4.
Okay. All right, first item of new business is annexation of property located at 1002 West Main Street, or behind 1002 West Main Street. John?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Since the last time we met, I just wanted to point out we've got new
I see that.
screens for you guys to make it a little easier for you to see one of the presentations this morning. We got new cameras also, so enhance the production for the Channel 2. Autumnwood Crossing owns 4.47 acres located behind 1002 West Main Street. That's the Taco Bell, and has petitioned to annex the property. A 50-unit age-restricted apartment facility along with a separate small commercial parcel is being planned on the site. Properties in town near this one are zoned general commercial and protected residential. West Main Street is classified as an arterial. For the intended use of the property to be compliant with the zoning requirements, the property would need to be annexed with high-density residential and general commercial zoning along with a planned unit special overlay.
All right. Any questions? John? All right. Do we have a presentation as part of this?
That's just part of item 2.
Part of item 2. Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Do we have a motion and recommendation for zoning?
I make a motion to approve the annexation as stated.
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, item 2.
Autumnwood Crossing is requesting site plan approval for a planned development consisting of the 50-unit age-restricted apartment complex and the commercial parcel. The entire development will encompass 4.47 acres, with the apartment complex using the bulk of the property. The primary reason for the planned development request is because the buffer and setbacks proposed on the apartment complex do not meet the traditional zoning requirements. A staff review of the project yielded concerns about access to the site and other related traffic impacts, as well as questions about how this project could impact the master planning of the larger parcel adjacent to it that is not being annexed at this time.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Conley is here to has a presentation for you if you have any questions for me.
Let's do that first, and then we can address any questions we may have about that. Mr. Collins?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Most of you, I think, know who we are. We're Common Builders and Development. My office is here in Lexington off Old Chapin Road. We're currently building and developing in 4 states, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. The product that we are proposing is a 50-unit facility for age-restricted to folks 55 and older. This is a similar property to the one that we built last year off of Northwood Road. You may be familiar with it. The plan is to, where this parcel of property is, you have Willowbrook subdivision to the back, Kmart shopping center to the right, Taco Bell is in front, and our plan is a semi-urban plan, and I think, yeah, it's on the screen there. The plan is to have a mix between commercial elements and residential elements. The building is a secure facility, almost like a gated entrance, if you will. Residents have a key card or a passcode to get into the building. Otherwise, it's secure from the outside. Contained inside the building are laundry facilities, meeting facilities, exercise rooms, libraries, there's screen porches on the end, as well as some sunrooms and exercise rooms. The benefits of this development are it will add 50 new rooftops or 50 new homes in a walkable community. We took great caution to go through the comprehensive plan to make sure we meet the comprehensive plan to a T. I emailed to all the council members and the planning commission members. I went in and broke down the comprehensive plan section by section, looking for the requirements, and everything that pertained to our development or this type of development or that area, we made sure that we meet or exceed those expectations. This type of development it does not require, it is not a heavy traffic generator. We have not done a full traffic study, honestly, because one's not really warranted. The traffic generation is so light. We did hire Short Engineering and Consulting, and I believe each one of the Planning Commission members has been provided with a copy of that summary report. We also had our site engineer, Mr. Short, discuss with Randy Edwards with the town the issue of the traffic, and what measures could be taken to mitigate any increased traffic. And what was discussed was potentially widening or improving the intersection, which would be our main course of entry and exit between Maurice's Barbecue and Taco Bell. That it's not a huge modification, but that intersection right now, it requires you almost to come to a stop to turn in because there's a deep valley gutter and it's a sharp turning radius. So we have agreed to pay for those improvements to widen that radius and shallow that intersection up so that someone exiting off of the main thoroughfare or entering onto the main thoroughfare can do so with a little bit more speed to keep traffic from coming in at a standstill. The other benefits, of course, is you're talking about an increased tax base with very minimal burden. The property will pay 6% sales tax. It will revitalize the area. We have spoken to the Willowbrook subdivision representatives, and we believe they are in favor of the development, largely in part because it is proposed to address some of the stormwater issues that may be coming from that side of the property. But we've also spoken to the commercial neighbors that own the Kmart shopping center, and they are ecstatic about the potential of new rooftops coming in a walkable community. And they have expressed that, you know, this would be the catalyst that they've kind of been waiting on to improve some of the commercial fronts in their, under their control. We have allowed, we understand that connectivity is important to the town. We've allowed for future connectivity with connector road and sidewalks. This being a 55 and older community, it will have a deed restriction on it, age 55 and older. So therefore it would have no negative impact on the school system, and we have a letter of support that I believe has already been sent from the school system that was sent to all the council members and the planning commission members. We have calculated this to be medium density mixed use. So we've been very careful to make sure that our density falls in that medium density category. Like I said, we have the support of the neighborhood, the business neighbors. We also have that, we'd like to get one of my staff members to come and help pass out some letters for you. So we have support letters that you're being handed from AARP, Lexington County Recreation Commission, and the COG. We don't know of any known opposition to the development at this point. And another piece of information that I think is very helpful. We recently did we have two other properties in the area. One I mentioned earlier, which is Hampton's Crossing. And we have another facility over in Irmo. People call it the cut through to the mall. But it's Westcott Place. It's right there in the fork of the road where Old Bush River and Westcott cut off. We always get asked, you know, who are residents, where are residents coming from, and we generally have a pretty good idea, but I thought it would be a interesting exercise. We did a survey. This is a voluntary survey, so not everybody answered the survey, as you can imagine, so there's some room for error in this. But of of the participants in those two properties that responded, 27% of them are still currently employed. 73 are not employed, which means they're, being the older community, they're most likely retired. So that 27% shows you that that's not a traffic impact because they're not coming and going back and forth to work. The number of residents that currently volunteer in the community, I think that's a huge issue. That's 30%. And while I thought that might seem a little low, I think if you did a survey of the population in general, I'm not sure it'd be much higher than that. But they did, we asked them where they volunteer. They volunteer at local churches, local schools, the Harbison Theater, Salvation Army. 49% of the residents that live there actually came from within the county. They were already living in the county. A lot of our residents come getting closer to their kids and grandkids, as you can imagine. And then we just asked them, what if you currently work or you previously, what jobs did you previously hold? And then, I won't call them out, there's quite a few there, but I mean, they go from teachers to school district employees to special needs education, accountants, zoo worker, all over the board. So just good old salt of the earth people. When we develop, I think that we have a great standing example of what we're trying to do on Northwood Road. When we developed that community, had a few residents that came forward that were concerned, and I think most times people are just concerned out of the unknown. But since that property we didn't have a huge uprising, but since that community has been built, we invited all the neighbors to the grand opening. They came, they experienced the grand opening, they met the residents, and some of the comments, and I think Brett, you attended that opening, and several other town people or town representatives attended that grand opening, and the comments that I heard were, this is great, this is one of the best neighbors we could have hoped for, because it's not a lot of traffic, there's no noise, and it's a great neighbor. Some concerns, and I can readdress this, Mr. Chairman, later if the concern comes up, or I can go ahead and address it now, but one of the concerns I know is traffic and access to this site that was mentioned. John put in the report to the council members. I didn't think of it. It's kind of silly, but I didn't think of it. It depends on the time of day when I leave my office, because I work right here in the middle of town. It depends on the time of day when I leave my office as to which direction I take. But 90% of the time, you would think, traffic lights are the thing. 90% of the time, I will not turn right and go out of my office and go to that traffic light, because you sit there through that light, and I know that's one of the new signalized intersections, and I'm not trying to step on any toes, but it takes forever to get through that light. When the light changes, if somebody's not paying attention, then only a couple of cars get through the intersection. That's not necessarily the light's fault, but it's just people, the way they drive. But I turn left out of my office and go down and go out Maxie and go up and come in behind Walmart if I'm trying to get to that side of 378. If I'm coming to Town Hall, I also don't go through that intersection and come down Main Street. I will turn right and go down and turn left and come up the back side. Not as far down as Gibson. I usually turn left and come in that back way. But my point is, that intersection that we're talking about, it's not vital. It's not the only answer to turn, somebody has to turn left out of there. That's not true. You always have the option to turn right out of that intersection if they're trying to come to a different part of town They can turn right, go down to Gibson even, and come back up through Hendricks and some of the other streets. I also went, and curiosity was killing me, so this morning I went and drove that intersection 3 times, videoed it once. But in all 3 instances, it took me less than 8 seconds to get out of that intersection, turning left. I think, while it would be ideal for everything to have a traffic light, there's many instances, many occurrences down 378 Highway 1 that don't have a traffic light. The good thing is this does have a turn lane median in the middle, so that you can turn left, get in the median, wait for traffic to clear, and then get back into traffic on the other side. So that's the presentation. If anyone has any questions. I did skip over, and I'm not trying to make light of the presentation, but I don't want to waste anybody's time. The proposal is to also have a 100-foot buffer. I know the way the application sounds, we're doing a PUD because we're not meeting setbacks, but we've taken great caution in trying to present that building where it would be pulled closer toward the sidewalks, leaving as much buffer and putting the parking in the back. But there's a 100-foot buffer, a vegetative buffer, and some other screenings that the town will require, I'm sure, between this development and the residential area. We also are we're planning to build a stormwater retention pond that you see on the drawing there. We will be installing that large retention pond that will roughly take care of half of the area that's undeveloped there. Plus, we're reclaiming the temporary retention pond at Taco Bell. We're taking that stormwater on as well to try and put that under a common stormwater management plan that will be approved by the county. And I'm available for questions.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I will need, because my property is adjacent to this project, I will need to recuse myself from discussion.
Okay. All right. Mr. Conley, if you would, come on back up. I do. Sorry. And I do want to say thank you and appreciate your time at our work session this week to kind of at least lay some of the groundwork and go through this. As we looked at traffic numbers and your impacts, that's accounting for your 50-unit development, but not your commercial property. Do you have any idea of what may go there and what type of traffic impacts that may have?
We did discuss that, but we're only proposing, I think it's a 1,500 or 1,800 square foot building, and it's going to be light office commercial. So we don't expect it to be. It'd be very negligible. Again, it's not going to hit the radar screen, so to speak.
Okay. All right. So you're saying it'll be office commercial. It's not going to be general commercial activity.
Right.
Okay. All right. And one other thing that we talked a little bit. You mentioned connectivity this morning, and I don't know that anybody's envisioned or requested that you have a stoplight at the Taco Bell area. We realize from a DOT perspective that's not a possibility. But we talked at length about obtaining access, or at least an easement through the Kmart parking lot behind the barbecue joint and the oil change place to allow folks to get over to the top stoplight at the Shell station. And, I've thought about it a bunch, and I still think that from my standpoint, I appreciate the efforts on the improvements at the Taco Bell intersection on 378. I still think it would be worthwhile to pursue obtaining that easement or working with the adjacent commercial owners, which I understand you have a good relationship with and have talked with at length, to see if we can make sure that access is ensured in perpetuity, especially given the commercial or the development you may have on the commercial side, as well as what may come in adjacent to you. So I would just renew that. I think it's worth doing. I don't want to hold you up. I know we talked a little bit last night about timing, and I know you have some deadlines and some things that you feel you have to meet in order to move the project forward. I will remind you, though, that this is just the first step in a process that's not very quick. We make recommendations to council on the annexation as well as the PUD. They will have to go through several readings to approve that. So it's not going to be done for some time, but I understand I don't want to hold you up any longer either. So that's my question. That's my thoughts. I mean, I don't know if you want to address the easement access through the Kmart parking lot.
Yeah, and as I offered last night, we have tried to be very proactive and look at all the issues. I live here just like all of you do. We want to do the best thing, that we can possibly do. I did have conversations with with Baker and Baker and we're setting up meetings with them now. And regardless of the outcome of this meeting, we're going to continue to work with them to try. But as I said last night, my goal is more than just an easement. My goal would be to see that area work toward some connectivity. I think that we can get a long way with the private sector working together to make that happen. But it will take the cooperation of the town, of course. But I think that area needs to be redeveloped. There's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of stuff that's been there for a long time. We didn't start with a blank canvas. You guys have got to deal with stuff that's been in the town for years. Some of it non-compliant, bringing stuff up, to code and up to standards. And that area needs some of that. My only concern at this point is, I would appreciate not having a absolute requirement that would potentially kill this deal. But that's in your hands to make that decision. Like I said, we've already, without being asked or required, we've already started working with the developers to try and look at other ways to improve connectivity in that. And as I said, I don't have any financial interest in any of the other properties. I just think it's the right thing to do.
Okay. And again, as we go through this, what we're looking at here is the plan development unit that we would be making a recommendation to the council. So I think any conditions we may associate with that, I'm not sure would necessarily kill your deal. It would give you opportunity to work on those as council moves through their process. But they wouldn't be set in stone. It would not be something that couldn't be altered or adjusted as it went through the process.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
How soon do you think you're gonna have one of these meetings with these property owners?
Soon. Of course, it depends on developers and their schedules, but this week or next.
From a timing standpoint, John, what are we talking about as far as council getting it and making a final recommendation? I know that goes
Your
next month.
recommendation would go to council first week in September. They couldn't finalize the annexation and the PUD approval until that's minimum the first week of October.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have two questions for Mr. Conley, if I could. And the first one is, how would you address lighting from your development, flooding the single-family homes just behind it? That's the first question. The second one is the detention pond, is that actually on your property or is that on the property of others?
That is on property owned by someone else. We would have stormwater drainage easements to that property. That was part of the negotiation, and when I purchased the land, was that we build the pond, but they allow for area for the pond, and we put the improvements in. So it's not, with this development being built, the question and worry about what's going to happen with stormwater drainage is going to be resolved.
I understand.
Because we've got that in our numbers to take care of that. And the design that was used was 80% impervious on post-development area. So it's not assuming just our development as impervious area, it's assuming the rest of the acreage on half of that development being impervious area. Handles runoff.
Lighting?
So,
Asked about lighting.
Oh, lighting, sorry. Yes, we will gladly work with the town. We normally work with SENG on their lighting, and there's, you know, down lights that can be used to minimize the light bleed over or whatnot. We usually like to put wall packs around our buildings, on the building, because it radiates light out away from our residents' windows. But in the case that you have a neighborhood or something like that that's adjacent to it, then we would use other methods like the downlight shoe boxes and things of that nature. But that's a very good question. Thank you for asking.
What about the screening from between your property and the residential subdivision?
Well, I'm not 100%, 100% sure what the requirements of the town are yet. Of course, we're going to comply with whatever those requirements are. I think John mentioned last night we have an 8-foot high fence between us and them, and that's fine. That big of an area, we'll plan it so that it looks like a natural area, not just a row of trees. We try not to do that. We like to break up the landscaping so it looks like something nice. I mean, it can actually be used as an amenity if it's done right.
Yes, John.
The PUD that is being proposed does not address any of the other zoning requirements, so I would, the assumption would be that Mr. Conley intends to meet all other development requirements in the town except for the setback issue. That would mean 8 foot tall, 90% opaque screening between his development and the residential area. It would mean that we would most likely require a lighting plan to be submitted, photometric study, so that we can ensure that lighting doesn't bleed over from the property and that type of thing. Still would have to meet the parking requirements, landscaping requirements, that type of thing. Unless those are added as part of the PUD. And one other thing, you mentioned in your comments that the commercial property would be light office. The plan says retail. So we need to either adjust the zoning or adjust the plan, or that's why I submitted it as general commercial.
All right. Any further questions?
I've got one. In
Yes.
your development narrative, you mentioned Derrick Street, but the facility's not going to be on Derrick Street because that is not a named street, correct?
And I'm not even, I think I picked that up from GIS. It is named Derrick Street Extension. So that's where I picked that up from. But now, we have deeded access to 378-1 via that driveway. So that's our proposed access point. It's a little confusing to me. I saw it on there as well. So whether they proposed it as a public right-of-way or a future road is unclear to me, but that's where that came from.
Okay.
Mr. Edwards, do you have any idea if that's a public road and named street, or is that a driveway?
I do not
Okay.
know that it's public. I believe that it's a driveway.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I can speak to that a little bit.
Yes.
I believe it is a driveway. When they did 911, they named some things that weren't official roads for addressing purposes, and I think that might have been one of those things where a driveway got named because it was easier to do 911 addressing.
All right. Thank you very much. Any additional questions? Excuse me. have a motion?
Nobody wants to jump in. Like, you know, there's 5 more ones. I'm gonna make a motion, we approve this as a PUD. With the caveat that, as John says, we meet the screening requirements, lighting requirements, parking requirements, and that out parcel is on general commercial.
General commercial or office commercial?
Office commercial.
Okay, thank you. All right, so,
Second.
you got that, Ms. Karen?
Yes.
All right, we got that in a second. It is, I won't, I guess what I would request and I would ask is to amend that to also address the access easement to the
Oh,
stoplight.
I'm sorry, I forgot about it, I didn't write that down, but that is correct,
Okay.
access easement.
So add that as a contingency. It's access
Access.
easement to the stoplight through the adjacent property. So we got that in a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Again, thank you very much, thank you for your time. Thank you this week, I appreciate it. All right. On to item number 3. John?
Bar Lake Associates owns 56.7 acres located on Buck Drive and has petitioned to annex the property. This is the remaining property that will be needed to constitute Phase 3 of the Bar Lake subdivision, which is Phase 3 is being planned on this parcel and the adjacent one that we annexed previously. Properties in town near this one are zone protected residential. 2, this parcel does not have any road frontage. Due to the surrounding conditions of the intended use of the property, the recommended zoning is PR2, and the recommended classification of the neighborhood streets is RL4 once they are completed.
All right. And I know we have some folks here to discuss parts of this, but I'm assuming it's more the next item than this.
That was my assumption, was site plan approval.
Since that's the sketch plan, and this is just an annexation.
Yes, sir.
We will have discussion during that period. So any questions, John? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Well, you're recusing, so you want to vote. So it's unanimous. All right.
Did he vote no?
Yeah. He's, all right, item number 4.
Power Engineering is requesting site plan approval for Phase 3 of Bar Lake subdivision. Phase 3 will add 89.8 acres to the subdivision with 237 additional lots. The allowable density of residential developments is determined by the classification of the street or streets that provide access to the property. Bar Lake subdivision currently is accessed by Wildlife Road. Phase 2 included adding an access point from Bar Road that has not been completed. Wildlife Road and Bar Road are both classified as collector roads, which allow 8 units per acre. This phase will have approximately 2.6 units per acre. Properties with PR2 zoning do not have a minimum lot size as long as the home can meet the minimum setbacks and driveway requirements. Phase 3 has a minimum lot area of 7,849 square feet. The average lot area is 10,321 square feet, and the maximum lot area, and I want this lot, is 54,113 square feet. You don't see that in Lexington very often.
No, not very often.
The town's land development ordinance requires at least 20% of the project area to be open space, with at least 50% of the open space being active recreation space with tennis courts, swimming pools, or other approved amenities. The amount of open space provided in this phase is 17.7%. But when it's combined with the open space provided in the other two phases, this requirement is met, assuming that the pond is restored and the amenity area is completed. Access, as I said before, access to phase 3 is intended to occur through the existing entrance on Wildlife Road and the new entrance that is hopefully being completed on Bar Road very soon. A new decel lane and left turn lane will be installed on Bar Road when that's done. And you are correct, you have some residents that are interested in speaking.
All right, and I guess we'll start, well, I guess let's ask this first. Do we have anyone with Power Engineering or the developer that wishes to add something to what John has presented?
David Parr is here if you have any questions.
All right. Please come forward.
I'm David Parr with Power Engineering. Don't really have anything to add. It's going to be similar to the previous phases, but I'm here to answer questions.
All right. Is there anyone with the developer here? All right. All right. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a couple.
Yes.
First of all, it's probably an easy question, but is this phase being developed exactly like the other phases, road width, setback, everything that, this density, everything the same as the first two phases?
That's right.
And the first two phases, I assume someone out there can tell me are working properly. Everything's good. We'll get an opportunity to hear that, I guess, opposition to that. Second thing is, the open space is assuming the pond's going to be restored. How do we guarantee the pond's going to be restored?
And the developer is working with Heritage Engineering to get the pond dam rebuilt. And that Heritage is drawing up plans now to get submitted to DHEC for approval. But they've been working with DHEC for a while to get the parameters for the fix since after the big flood rules changed. So he's been trying to get the parameters locked down that he needs to sign to.
And I guess I apologize. I assumed and thought someone with the developer would be here this morning to give us an idea of what his time frame might be. I realize that working with state government can be tedious sometimes. As a DHEC employee, I can say that. You know, and working with CORE, but at some point, you know, I think we're going to hear from these folks is, you know, there needs to be some assurance from our standpoint as we start doing site plan approvals that the amenities, the green space, and things that are required by our ordinance are there. You know, we'll see where it goes, but I do want to give these folks the opportunity, since they came this morning, to share with us their concerns. And if you can address any of those at the end, that would be greatly appreciated. And we'll see where it goes from there. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Those who've signed up to speak, John.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and council members. I'll introduce myself. My name is James Carter. I'm a homeowner in Barr Lake. Tell you a little bit about how I got in Barr Lake. I was a resident here in the town of Lexington and Hunter's Ridge for 22 years. Loved the town, wanted to stay within the town, found a house over in Barr Lake and moved there. We actually purchased about 17 months ago, and we never saw the lake. We bought the very last home site on the lake. So with the promise and the intention that between the developer and between our home builder that they were going to restore the pond. So had no reason to disbelieve that. It's a big company. I looked on the internet last night. They got 30, my builder, Essex Homes, has 33 listed neighborhoods in South Carolina right now. So I don't think they're going to go out of business. At least I hope not. So anyway, I have several, close to a half dozen residents here today. I expressed my concerns to them through our social media page, and had several others that could not make it because of work. So they all are kind of in agreement with what I'm getting ready to present to you today. So anyway, that's a little bit about myself. I am a small business owner right here in Lexington, so right on 378 Carolina Motors. All y'all should come buy a car from me. But, anyway, so love the community, love the town, and I do appreciate the efforts. And just this is the first time I've been in anything like this, and I appreciate all the detail and the efforts that you guys are doing to protect not only the town of Lexington, but taxpayers like myself, and also future taxpayers, like the future 230 taxpayers that are going to be supposedly coming into our neighborhood. So anyway, that's kind of where I am and who I am. The lots that are now that are backing up to the pond right now, there's those people, including myself, paid a $30,000 surcharge to be on that pond. Even right now, if you go to the builder's website, they are listing our neighborhood as a Lakeview community, and it's still on there right now. They also have some other verbiage on their website, and this is verbatim. It says, enjoy your downtime with your family and friends at our over 60-acre lake, walking trails, pool, clubhouse, and play area. And I'm assuming this is probably, and this is the first time I've heard this term, the green area, to make the neighborhood, I guess, within code. So right now there is no green area. They have, I love my house, love my neighborhood. They've done a good job with sidewalks. I know they've had to comply with either DOT or either this committee, I'm not sure, with turnabouts, the turn lane on Wildlife Drive. So I know they're working very hard for that. At one time, I actually talked to one of the construction workers when they were revamping the entrance, which is on Wildlife at this point, and he had mentioned to me that, oh yeah, we had to stop selling any lots because of the traffic flow that was going down Wildlife. So the 17 months that I've lived there, I know that when something critical comes up, committees maybe like yourself or maybe DOT, for the safety of the residents there, they can stop building houses and make it compliant. So I do feel like this engineering firm, that is, and I know that working through the flood of 15 and everything else, I know that that's not a quick process, but I do feel like in 17 months that something else should have been done. Since I've been there, we've been notified 2 different letters, and they're pretty much the same letter about working with the engineering firm. Well, I myself called a gentleman, his name was Peter somebody, he was with DHEC, and he told me over the phone, I don't mind talking to you at all about the dam project. We've given them a plan, and we told them if you do this, that you can, continue on with construction. But they did not want to spend that kind of money, so they're revamping the plan, or trying to get a different plan to where they can save some money. So at this point, after 17 months, I'm kind of like the concerns you just mentioned earlier, you kind of came out of my mouth. I feel like that they're not putting forth enough effort for that. So that being said, as a resident of Bar Lake, before we continue to disappoint the residents that have already spent their money in there, I want to ask the committee to halt any type of construction for the additional 230 sites, because that's going to be another 230 families that may be disappointed about the timing of the amenities in this green space. Hope I didn't rush through that, but that's, I know this is not a question and answer. I know you're not going to fix the lake today, but those are the concerns that are on the hearts of the homeowners that are represented here today, and several that could not make it.
Okay, thank you very much. Just one clarification. I don't think I said I don't believe that they're working hard enough. I do say it is difficult to get through, but I think we need to schedule, and that's my point. And I don't know if Mr. Parr, if you can address the potential schedule and timing for amenities and green space, as well as I guess I would ask about the Bar Road access that's been sitting there for quite some time. Do you have any idea when that tie-in is going to be complete?
The plans have been submitted to DOT for approval, and we've gotten one round of comments, and we've addressed those, and so we're waiting to hear back. So we expect approval soon.
Okay. All right. And any thoughts, ideas on the schedule for?
I don't know. I mean, Dan Creed with Heritage would be the one to answer that. He's been in the meetings with DHEC. He's the one preparing the plans. So,
Okay, was he aware we were meeting this morning?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. John, yes.
Just a suggestion, perhaps
So the folks at home who are watching can hear you.
Just a suggestion, perhaps you might want to ask the project to be withdrawn until you can get these questions answered.
And I'll be honest, we without someone here, I mean, I really thought that we were gonna have someone here to at least give us some idea
I did too.
of the process that was going. That might be a valid suggestion until you can secure some advice and answers and some idea of where we're headed.
I just did get this letter from Dan Creed to the Bar Lake Homeowners Association. So I was thinking this.
What date is it?
It's August 21st, 2017.
They got it. Let's check this morning.
A lot of faith in the U.S. Postal Service, but yeah, that 2 days ago. So what's, can you mind reading that to us? Do you have an idea what it says?
This is to John Stevenson. As foretold in a prior memorandum issued by the association, we prepared and submitted conceptual restoration plans and the preliminary hydrologic and hydraulic design summary to DHEC for their review. DHEC subsequently endorsed our design approach and analysis methodology. We also met with Lexington County Floodplain Manager and Public Works staff to review the plan and identify the most efficient permitting approach from that perspective. As a result of that meeting, we have modified the proposed embankment and spillway geometries to maintain the current 100-year peak reservoir elevation as opposed to lowering it, and avoid the expense and delay associated with preparing and submittal of a CLOMAR. A CLOMAR is something that goes to FEMA, which would be another long delay. So that would speed things up. With the scope of necessary improvements now identified, we continue to move forward with the preparation of construction drawings for bidding and final permitting. Included in these efforts are the preparation of exhibits for environmental permitting by other members of the project team. Also on the team is Chow and Associates, who is responsible for the structural design. We expect to make the submittal for construction permits before the end of September. The timeline consistent with that contained in the aforementioned memorandum. This is signed by Dan Creed, Heritage Engineering.
Read that date again, the sentence with the date in it. The last sentence, I guess next last sentence.
We expect to make submittal for the construction permits before the end of September.
And that's to DHEC or county?
This is addressed to John Stevenson, who is, I suppose,
Well,
still
who are they going to submit applications to?
DHEC.
Okay. And that's in
Well,
September.
DHEC, I think DHEC controls the dam permitting, but the county would probably review for land disturbance.
Okay. All right. Any idea how long it's going to take once they get approval by?
No.
Okay. All right.
Keith,
questions?
it's a long way off. I mean,
Oh,
I'm in
I don't get
the
that.
construction
It's not
business
6
and do this
months.
kind of construction, so, yeah, DHEC's gonna take at least 30 days, and it's gonna take at least 30 days to bid and procure prices, probably another 30 days to get to a contract before you start any construction.
Well, and I guess my question is from the developers, is what is their projected schedule? How quickly do they intend to move, and how quickly do they intend their contractor to move? And we can.
Can't guess that.
You know, well, I think they can. I mean, we can.
We can.
But I think they can, and
We
that's
can,
why
yeah,
I
right.
thought someone was gonna be here to help provide some of that clarification as to what their projected process is. You know, I get that, you know, they can't control permitting, and how quickly they get those permits. And that 30 days may be very generous.
Yep.
So, any other questions or thoughts? Yes, real quick.
Also, with our communication with my neighbors on social media, no one's against Bar Lake completely filling up. We're looking forward to new neighbors. We're looking forward to more tax money coming into the town. That's not the issue. The issue is that we feel like the residents in Phase 1 and Phase 2 need to be taken care of before they're granted permission to move on to Phase 3. Because right now, all it's doing is, and people are still buying houses in there. It's a great community. But all it's doing is building up more and more tension that we don't have that green space, which is obviously required by the planning committee. So there again, and a lot of people, other neighbors that could not make it here, we want more neighbors. We just want it done properly.
And understand that we, while we have some jurisdiction here, it's not as quite as, I think, strange as you think it might be. Yes, as long as we get a schedule, if they can give us an idea of when they plan to do it, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to hold this up for the year and a half it may take to rebuild a dam.
We understand that.
So, I don't mind asking for, give me a schedule, tell me what your plan is to get those amenities in that green space in place for your residents. So I'm not sure we can necessarily hold everything up until that's completed.
Sure, and we understand
but
that.
I do ask the question and was hoping we would be able to get those answers this morning on timing. And they may not be able to, I don't know, but it would be nice to hear from them. So we'll definitely, I guess, look at it. Any other questions?
One more. I'm
Yes.
sorry, so many questions this morning, but
Sorry.
Wildlife Road, is that your only entrance and exit out of the
It
neighborhood
is
right
at
now?
this point. It is at this point. It was described to us as homeowners when we closed. That is going to be the back entrance of the neighborhood. It's going to have 2 entrances. And they're building from the back of the neighborhood to the front of the neighborhood.
So where's the new entrance? There's not going to be another entrance when Phase 3 is built, right?
Well,
Except the Bar Road's going to be finished?
The Bar Road, it should be, and I don't know what the standard is, but I guess they're getting close to the number of home and traffic that they're going to have to complete Bar Road.
It was my understanding, like I said, I'm just a resident, but it was my understanding at closing when I bought the property that there would only be two ways to get in and out of the neighborhood. If that helps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can we propose that he pull this and the developer return? Because, there's numerous questions that I don't think Power Engineering needs to be responsible for answering for the developer that seem to be on all the commission's mind and certainly the homeowner's mind that I would have thought a developer would have attended this morning.
Yes, sir.
Does this require multiple readings?
No, the site plan approval is done once we do it. So if it comes back next month with the appropriate answers, then you move forward.
Okay. But one thing, Dan, I can tell you that the developer is frustrated that the permitting for the process through DHEC is taking so long. So,
I understand. You and several thousand other dam owners are working through DHEC right
and
now.
the road to connect to Bar Road is constructed up to there. We're just waiting to get, so he's ready to build that too.
Who is here that even has the authority to pull this?
Power Engineering is the one that submitted.
His representative, so they
Yep.
can pull it?
He can pull it. He submitted, it's under their name.
We can't issue any permits until the property is annexed. The property can't be annexed until the first week in October. So
There's time.
delaying approval of Phase 3 until you can get some answers is not going to delay their work,
Okay.
starting their work.
All right. Well, I guess technically, we can,
You can motion to not approve it.
well, we can we table this, Brad? Is this an item that we can table until our next meeting?
I think you ought to get an agreement
This
from
lady,
the submitting party, then you don't have any risk to it.
Okay. All right.
What's the difference in tabling it and whatever?
Not much, and I guess it's just, it's two different ways to do, I guess. Timing may be the other issue is, there's certain time frames that we have to address things. So, really that, and when you get into those situations, that we have to do a motion. And so tabling really, it limits us that option to table it. We either have to approve it or deny it. And rather than denying it, often it's more attractive for developers and engineers to withdraw and resubmit. So, but before we get there, I do have one more person that wants to speak. Would you please come forward?
Thank you. I just found out about this meeting from my husband last night on social media, so I apologize for not saying I want to speak. My name is Judy Quails-Tyner, and we live at 204 Rapala Way in Bar Lake. When we bought our lot, and we paid an upcharge because it was a bigger lot, there was no one there around us at all on Rapala. And we moved in last June, and we were told that the amenities would be built after the lake was completed. And I kept going back and forth saying, well, what about the green spaces? What about the pool? I mean, we were expecting a pool by this summer, and my kids are growing up, and now I'm not going to have a pool until I have grandkids. When I came from a development area in Lake Carolina that had all my amenities, and we retired here with the expectation to have those amenities. My biggest concern, I don't know when that's going to happen, as we were promised, but there is zero green space in this community. I mean, you go for a walk. I went for a walk yesterday. I had to walk on the road to Bar Road just to have some green space. I mean, I did not expect that coming from an area like Lake Carolina where there's walking areas and things other than just walking around and seeing a house, okay? Traffic. When are they going to open that road to Bar Road for construction vehicles? Children almost got run over by dump trucks with them putting this second phase back there. I mean, we have one entrance in, one entrance out, emergency vehicle issues since they put a roundabout in. I'm concerned for the neighborhood people of getting in and out of there. I almost got side-swiped turning on Rapala Way off of Mossback Trail by a dump truck, barreling down from that second phase of where they put those new lots up there. So I want a construction entrance or something where they're not going to come barreling through Mossback Trail to Wildlife and run over children that are getting off the school bus. School bus can't even turn around in our development because of the construction. That's, to me, this is a safety concern for our neighbors and my own children, myself. And that's why I would ask that more answers about this next, putting more houses back there and more without an entrance acceptable for those big construction vehicles to be going in and out of. Because going right through the neighborhood, you have children playing in these front yards. And I don't know if anyone's ever brought that up before the plan. But I'm concerned that a kid's gonna get squished by a dump truck. And they're not concerned. Because when I went to Essex, to the realtor there, and told her about these dump trucks, I was upset. I almost got hit by one. And she said that that's the developer, not on us, developing this area up there. So that's one of my major concerns before you approve them going back that other way, that they have an access off of Bar Road for their construction vehicles, not coming through our neighborhood, where children are trying to get off and on the school bus, especially this October, November area. It was bad when they did that second phase back there, living there. I mean, you couldn't get in, you couldn't get out. Then with I appreciate the turning lane finally, because trying to turn right coming down Wildlife Road, you'd almost get run over and rear-ended every time from Bar Road to Wildlife to turn in. Every time the traffic coming down that road, boom. So finally the turning lane helps, but now people just continue to just drive right around you and go into that turning lane to fly down Wildlife Road. So I don't know if they did any traffic studies. How is this going to affect Bar Road? There's so many accidents on Bar Road, you know, need to have that. I'm glad they said they're going to have a turning lane there, but are they going to have the turning lane prior to opening that area up. Lots of questions. I think there's more questions than, I would hate to say, okay, go ahead, and then the next thing you know, you have a council meeting, and we're in here saying a child got killed by a dump truck because you didn't think. Let's slow it down and get some answers.
And I hear you, your theme appears to be safety and traffic flow and speed, and I'm assuming someone here has heard this and will relay this to Chief Green, and they can increase some patrols in that area. We've had neighborhoods before that have had that issue with construction traffic, or people that even live in the neighborhood driving too fast. But I do think you're right, we need some answers to questions such as access and amenities as we move forward. So again, I thank you for coming this morning and sharing with us. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question that, for maybe just for her knowledge and for my knowledge as well. As far as how long can Bar Lake not have the amount of green space? At what point does the town, do we handle that? Does the town get involved in that and go to the developer on that?
Well, I mean, I think that's before us this morning.
Yeah.
In the form of what do we do with this next phase if they haven't provided the amenities that were indicated and outlined and approved as part of phase 1 and 2. I think that's up to us. I think we need to get some responses and some feedback from the developer before we decide which direction to go.
Can I add a couple things?
Real quickly, yes.
Okay. The developer does plan on making the Bar Road connection as soon as the permit is issued, which ought to be soon. And as far as the amenity area construction, as you can imagine, the backside of the dam is all wetlands. So where the amenity area is planned to be used as a staging area for reconstructing the dam. And then after that's done, then the amenity area will be built.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. So Mr. Parr, where are we at here? Do you want us to take this up and make a motion, or do we want to try and withdraw this and get some answers to questions and some idea where we're heading and come back next month?
Well, we think it's going to be denied.
Well, again, there's two options. I mean, we move forward and we vote whether that's for or against, or either it can be withdrawn and come back next month with hopefully some more answers and a better direction and move from there.
Well, if I understood it right from John, the annexation isn't going to be approved until.
Yeah, that's going to move forward to council, so they'll have to have 2 readings of that as well.
And then, in the meantime, we could come back here and have the answers and hopefully get approval.
All right, so your request is to withdraw it and bring it back at a later date. Thank you very much, that's what I needed to do. All right, thank you very much, and again, thank you guys for coming this morning, and hopefully we'll have some information for you next time. All right. You back? You back? All right, good. Item 5.
What a vengeance. Ready to roll. I took it, taking my
Item 5, John.
ready to go.
I think we can get through the rest of this fairly quickly.
Let's hope.
GCI LLC owns 4.3 acres located adjacent to 169 Industrial Drive and has petitioned to annex the property. A 24,000 square foot warehouse is being planned on the site. Properties in town near this one are zoned industrial, and Industrial Drive is classified as an arterial road. Due to the surrounding conditions and the intended use of the property, the same zoning and road classification is recommended for this site.
All right, any questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion. Motion to approve.
And Frank, second. Thank you very much. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. That is unanimous for those that were remaining. All right, item 6, John.
Okay, this is a little bit more tricky. We've had this one before. Old Cherokee Investors owns 20.303 acres located 1120 Old Cherokee Road and has petitioned to annex a portion of the property. The portion to be annexed is the balance of parcel A2 on the plat in there that was not already annexed. The commission recommended annexing a 30-foot strip across the parcel A2 with PR2 zoning in May. So we did the 30-foot strip across the property, and now they're coming back wanting to annex the balance of it. Property is currently undeveloped, but a climate-controlled self-storage facility is being planned on the site. Properties in town near this one are zoned limited commercial and protected residential. Old Cherokee Road is classified as a collector road. For the intended use of the property to be compliant with the current zoning ordinance, this parcel and the 30-foot strip would need to be zoned general commercial. Since the majority of the property in this area is zoned limited commercial, the recommended zoning for this parcel is also limited commercial. However, the commission should also consider recommending a text amendment that would allow this type of facility to be located on the property, on property zoned limited commercial. The recommended classification of Old Cherokee Road is a collector. Is that clear as mud?
Yes.
So you're proposing to annex A1?
The easiest, the simplest way to look at this is the color map that you've got in here.
Okay.
The shaded area of the colored map along here is the 30-foot strip that you've already annexed.
Right.
What is being proposed to be annexed now is the balance of this parcel back to here, where there's a creek. Yes.
So where the house is at?
No. Yes.
So where the house is at is what we're annexing?
So the
Okay,
now-
does it say currently undeveloped, that there's a structure there? That's why I was confused.
Majority, 20 acres is
Okay,
mostly.
okay, that makes, okay.
The Scott Francis
Yes.
Corley piece?
Yes, where the pine straw place is at.
Okay. And a piece out front, well, I guess where it's, that's two parcels right there, that Corley piece, right? I guess they cut that part out for the house and then the part for the business.
On the plat that's in your packet, it is marked as A2, bordered by the creek across the back.
That's the only piece we're at annexing.
That's the only piece you're annexing. You've already annexed this part
Yep.
and the 30-foot strip along there. You are not annexing the Scott Francis Corley.
Okay. Motion approved.
Well, that was stated. With the recommendation of limited commercial, correct?
For the entire,
For the entire-
That was what was stated, wasn't it?
yes.
Yes.
All right?
That was what was intended to be stated.
Yes. All right, I just want to make sure, I just want that clear.
Whatever
Because
John said.
that'll help when we get to number 9.
How do do we amend it here?
Well, here we're making a recommendation to council with annexation of limited commercial. We're also going to make a recommendation that they change the ordinance at the same time.
Okay,
Once
but-
they do that, it'll fit.
But that's done in 9, not here.
Yeah, that's done in number 9. So, any further
Second.
questions? We got a second? Thank you, John. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Number 7, Charles?
Borough Properties owns 3.3 acres located in the 100 block of Industrial Drive and is petitioning to annex the property. Carolina Industrial Products is planning to construct a new facility on the site. Properties in town near this one are zoned general commercial and industrial. Industrial Drive is classified as an arterial road. Due to the surrounding condition of the use and the intended use of the property, the recommended zoning is industrial and the road classification is recommended to be remain arterial.
All right. Do we have some discussion? Have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Second. I do want to say, I find it very encouraging that we're seeing the amount of development and new business growth on Industrial Drive. That is very positive for our community.
I agree with that.
So, all right, motion and second, any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. All right, item 8.
The downtown overlay district allows some flexibility in the zoning ordinance and zoning and landscaping requirements for properties that are part of the overlay. The purpose of this overlay is to encourage occupancy of existing buildings and protect the unique character of the area. With the one-way pair project about to begin, the commission may wish to consider a recommendation to expand this district to include the properties along Church Street and North Lake between Main Street and the intersection of Church and North Lake. and the attached map, it might be a little easier to explain that, way to explain it. The orange on your attached map, to expand that.
Any questions or discussion? Did we want to consider adding areas east of North Lake as well? I know that was at least brought up as a discussion point.
I think where we left that on the work session was, let's do this now, and then we'll see whether we need to readdress it at a later
Okay.
date.
All right.
Certainly that is your prerogative to.
Yes, Steve.
All right, we have a motion, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Oscar. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. All right, now item 9, John.
Many storage facilities over 7,500 square feet in size are currently allowed only in general commercial and industrial zones. We've seen a change in the industry, which has occurred with more construction of self-contained climate-controlled facilities and fewer of the traditional mini storage facilities with drive-up accessibility. As a result, staff is recommending the commission consider a proposal to create a distinction between these two types of businesses by separating climate-controlled facilities from the traditional mini storage warehouses. The proposal would allow climate-controlled facilities under 25,000 square feet in size that are in a single building with limited customer access points to be located on property zoned limited commercial with collector road access. The setbacks for this type of business would be 10 feet on the front roadside, 5 feet on the sides and rear when they're adjacent to commercial properties, as it would be standard now, and 30 feet if it's adjacent to a residential area.
Okay. Any questions?
Limited commercial has to meet landscaping.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, just want to make sure.
All right, any other questions? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion, or recommendation? Sorry.
Yep.
All right, I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. All right, that concludes our agenda, and it has gone on. Any other updates or items for the good of the community? Anything from town's perspective, Mr. Cole?
No, sir.
All right. Ms. Manis, my seat.
Good to see you too, Mr. Chairman, and all the commission members. Thank you again for everything y'all do. We were honored to be a part of the solar eclipse totality on Monday. We had 1,500 people descend to Lexington to watch this historic scientific event. We had 800 people at the Ice House Amphitheater for the Eclipse Fest. Gibson Pond Park and Lexington Square Park were open for the public for viewing, and they were at full capacity. So it was a great day, and I hope you all got to be a part of this historic day. Don't forget, the farmers market is still going on every Saturday from 9 to 12 until September 30th at Lexington Square Park. If you have not been, it is a great opportunity, so I hope you'll go on Saturday. We're having Coffee with the Cop on Friday, August 25th at the Chick-fil-A at Saluda Point. That's from 7:30 to 9:30. And Town Hall will be closed on Monday, September the 4th for Labor Day, but the trash and recycling will be on the normal schedule. Our council meeting will be on that Tuesday, September the 5th, instead of Monday. So I hope to see you all there. And remember, school's back in. I noticed the traffic this morning coming here, so we need to be real safe around our school zones. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Coffee with the Cop, 7:30 to 9:30 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did I say PM?
No, you just said 7:30 to 9:30. I was just wondering, that's a heavy,
AM.
it's a heavy area.
Yes, it is.
So, all right, anything else? And I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege, just real quick, to say thank you for the commission. We have spent several hours this week trying to work through this agenda and find the right avenue and the right ways to grow the town that are beneficial for all of the community. So I want to thank you guys for the extra time that you put in each month, and I think it shows in the decisions that we make and the things that we get done. So thank you very much. With that, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much, and we are adjourned. And I want to thank you again for watching the Town of Lexington Planning Commission meeting and being able to participate. The recording will be aired several times throughout the week, and on behalf of commission members, I wish you a good day.